Okay. Says my video output. I believe I'm good. How jerky am I here? There's a huge lag. I believe this is better. Okay. So, I don't really know how this is going to turn out. I'm going to keep talking. Continuing where I left off, just to see what happens. This will be a good learning experience. Maybe I'm talking to myself. If I go to someone is actually watching, that's pretty cool. I believe this is working. Let's test this. Cool. Okay. Back to where I was. So I'm gonna just recap for fun. But our market cap is lower. Part of that's because the two theories that I've heard are basically because Coinmarketcap themselves took out Korea from the listing, which made a lot of the price appear lower because there weren't including Korea, and Korea just tends to have a relatively isolated crypto entry and exit, so it's harder to arbitrage, and their prices just tend to be higher. And when they took those off, it made the prices lower, and it made people make conclusions off of that. Another thing influencing the price is that there's rumors China's gonna discourage mining of crypto, and China is a huge miner of crypto, and there's arguments to be made that that could affect security. You could have worst case scenario, you could have things where if enough miners stop at once, the mining algorithm, the hash wouldn't be able to update appropriately, and you could kind of get in a lock where you could potentially take an extremely long time for that hash to be broken again before it'd be able to reset. So that's going on. Let's see what else we got. I found a really cool article, I thought, called Weathering the Altcoin Storm by Brendan Bernstein. Just talking about the alt versus Bitcoin swap back and forth, essentially. And he talks about how things have happened in the past where, Bitcoin's got the majority of the money going in versus alts, and how there is a history of one or the other happening, where money was going in. If money's going into Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's taken off, a lot of times it starts leaving alts and vice versa. Along those lines, I do think there are different strategies for someone to make the most of crypto. I can see multiple strategies at play. Like there is the classic hold or hodl, where you buy crypto you believe in and you hold it indefinitely. Ideally, you'd have some kind of metric set up in your mind when you would sell. But pretty much you hold. And then there's the more active trader who is day trading or actually making active trades. Then there's probably the most extreme, where someone is just daily looking at alts and trying to jump on trends and get on the next new thing. And I think any particular strategy with crypto has potential of good returns, but I don't think any particular strategy will always work. And I think it's just paying attention to the time we're in and just knowing what's working now, being willing to adjust and learn and change. I've just noticed in general also anything with technology, the technology itself, everyone knows there's Moore's law, and every 18 months, whatever, it essentially doubles. But also the people using the technology, for example, websites, internet sales. It's a very technologically heavy thing. To sell something on the internet, you're relying on the internet, you're relying on computers. Um, uh, your ability to sell and like the algorithms, the pay-per-click, um, uh, the way you're going about the email funnels and all these crazy things, they're always advancing as well, and they change quickly. What works today just doesn't work tomorrow, and a lot of it I think is because technology changes. The programs continue to be written that are taking advantage of new strategies and newer, better, bigger, faster ways of doing things. And I noticed that same thing in crypto, where it's obviously technologically heavy, and even more so than other things like real estate, for example. I feel like some of these more fundamental things, I think they are affected by technology and they do change, but some things are just slower than others, and I think crypto is one of those things that's faster, and someone has to be willing to change and adopt. Anyway, that was a long little rant there, but I do think this article is worth reading. We had a Ripple drop of sorts recently. What are we at right now? We are at 248. So it hasn't dropped a ton, but it has dropped. Let's look at a chart just for fun. Let's look at 7-day. So according to this, which I believe yeah, let's just say according to this, we have had a little bit of a drop. We were as high as 378 or so, and now we're at 247. I'm sure that is partially influenced by Korea. Them taking Korea out makes the dip look even farther, but we're lower. But also just looking back to this article here, we've had, this is obviously Ripple XRP, drops where Ripple went down and the Blues Bitcoin went up, and that very well may happen again. This guy gives just great examples of things that have happened in the past, and I think they're really worth considering going forward, especially if you trade. And I think it's just a helpful thing. What else we got? Someone else posted this. Exchange traded funds being applied for by the New York Stock Exchange. It's just basically more bigger money wanting to get involved directly or indirectly with the crypto market, and specifically Bitcoin. Things like this are some of the reasons I'm the most bullish on Bitcoin. I do think that people need to realize, though, at least how I understand things, when futures specifically they're not necessarily dependent. When you're buying a futures contract, you do not necessarily have to buy any Bitcoin. And so just because there's potentially billions of dollars in a futures contract or whatever, it doesn't mean there's billions of dollars going to be in Bitcoin itself. And indirectly, it can support money being in Bitcoin because it can give a lot of security to companies. Basically, they can you could potentially buy Bitcoin in bulk and know in the future how much you're going to be able to sell that Bitcoin for, because you could attach that Bitcoin you have to a futures contract. So it can also work. And this is I talked about Amir Rozak, and him saying how he thought that the Bitcoin futures could really even out the price because of Bitcoin, because you're basically buying Bitcoin or selling Bitcoin in the future. That future, when that future comes, it's already going to have a price attached to it, somewhat. And I don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, that is possible. I'm really interested to see if that happens, but I could also see, I don't know. Bitcoin right now is a big unknown. I am still ultimately bullish, and I do think things like this are legitimate and they are going to push price. and I don't know, it's interesting. But speaking of price, good old Tone Vase this morning, so this is a little bit old, but we'll compare, brought up his charts, and he's basically saying that I think a lot of the focus was this right here, which is kind of more or less what we've got going on. Price going up and down and up and down. We're more or less making a little triangle here. And he is saying it's not necessarily a break of trend up, of a bullish trend, for us to come back down and test the support line. So I guess it's called a throwback, or at least that's what it's called on here. And he's basically saying, like, we've got this triangle here that we broke out up, and he's saying for us to retest, kind of like this picture shows, doesn't necessarily mean that the bullish trend is broken. So so this is Bitfinex. We do not, I mean, if from what I understand of this, a break of a trend would be under 13,450-ish. And so it'll be interesting to see right now, in a second, where we are at and if we went lower than that and all that fun stuff. But let's look here. So 4-hour chart is suggesting a 1 to 4 candle bounce, and then reevaluate 1-hour chart as potentially in a 9 reversal line. So 9 reversal, interesting. So Bitcoin, dollar, 8, 9 reversal again. Let's look. Okay, so let's look at Bitfinex here. BTC USD. I'm not sure. Yeah, Bitfinex. Here we go. Nope. Bitstamp, Bitfinex. Here we go. So I believe this is the same chart he was using, and I believe he's even using TradingView. Mine's obviously black, but that's not a big deal. And this is the 1 day. So, what was the lowest we got to? 13,775 if you count the very bottom of the wick on the daily. So he had it. We want to basically stay according to this. Okay, so we're fine. I think we're fine. At least we haven't broken that trend line that I see here. So that's a good thing. We obviously bounced because we're at over 15 right now on that same, on Bitstamp to USD, or Bitfinex, sorry, to USD. Is that right? Bitfinex, yeah. So we could be okay. I mean, we could be starting another pattern here. We'll see if we bounce. I mean, it'll be. I'm hoping we bounce. Like I said though, if Bitcoin does bounce, it could mean bearish for alts. We'll see when it happens. I think that's something to consider. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have a ton more to say. Hopefully this was helpful and interesting. It's fun doing a live stream just to try it out. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day. I will talk to you later.